you know a woman can do it, and all you can do is walk her through and hold her hand and, kiss her on the cheek and tell her she's doing great. She can do it.
All right, thank you for coming and talking with me today. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your family, your interests, and work?
Okay, well, I'm Chris Miller, and I am, as of just a couple years ago, a CPM. Prior to that, I was a DEM, direct entry midwife, and now certified professional midwife. I've been practicing since the early 70s, and I, on a personal note, have 8 children, 5 of whom were born at home and 3 in a hospital, so I have that experience. And we moved to Utah in 1980, and I practiced in California about 10 years prior to that. So, still going strong.
So how many babies do you think you've helped deliver?
When they counted my charts in 1987, I had about 2,500. So, and that was in 87. I don't know that we've taken a running count since then. We just...
That's a long time ago.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't need to take a count. But yeah.
Thousands, for
Thousands.
sure. That's awesome. Okay, will you share how you decided to become a midwife and maybe more specifically a home birth midwife?
Well, it was a decision that was made for me. I never ever decided that I was going to be a midwife. In fact, when I got started, I don't believe that was even a word that we used. I found out about a home birth practice because my sister was pregnant with her first child and she was taking childbirth classes. And I found out that there was a doctor in California that was doing home births. And I had never heard of it before. I had 3 children in the hospital. I had been born at home in Europe, so it wasn't a new concept to me, but I didn't think they did anything so backwoodsy in the United States. But then I went to meet that doctor, and the curiosity just got the best of me. So I found out that there was a woman that lived in my neighborhood that worked for him, and he didn't call them midwives, he called them labor sitters. And so I asked her if I could just follow her around. And at first I was used basically as the babysitter for her, but then in order to I guess pay me for my services, she did take me to a few births, and it went on for maybe a year or 2, and then she moved out of the area, and the doctor that we worked for, Dr. Edenhausen, some people will recognize his name if they've been around for any time, but he asked me if I would take her place because I'd been to enough births that I kind of knew the routine. And boy, I jumped on that chance real quick. And so then it got to the point where people would call me and say, well, you delivered my friend's baby. I didn't, but I was with the doctor that did. I'll bet, would you be the person to come and deliver? And it just kind of progressed that way. So a decision was never made that I was going to be a midwife. I just kind of got dragged along in, what happened. And so, yeah, by the time I left California, I had a really busy practice of about 25 births a month. And I shared an office with the first nurse midwives that opened up a practice in Southern California. And, they're just, which was unusual at that time too, to have nurse midwives that were doing out of hospital births. But in California, not only did we have the naturopath that I practiced with who'd been doing births for 40 years, then there was a doctor in Azusa who had 3 birthing rooms in his office. He not only did home births, birth center births, and hospital births because he was an OB, and there were a lot of people that were doing, home birthing in California at that time. And then it kind of took on, it's kind of like with Ina Mae Gaskin, that they started with their little community, and then pretty soon other people were doing it, it really caught on in California. So did I decide to become a midwife? No.
Did you know when you started how much of your personal life would be affected by this career?
I had absolutely no idea. So, it's just like any other job that you do. A lot of times you don't put a lot of forethought into what's going to happen to your life. It's not an 8 to 5 for sure. And sometimes it's an 8 to 5, but it's 8 to 5 days in a row, so it's not just hourly. And there's no controlling it. You're just there. You're on call 24/7, and it makes absolutely no sense as to the time that you're going to put in. So
Yeah. What have been some of the biggest obstacles and also some of the biggest triumphs?
I tried to think about that. I mean, there's a lot. Triumph is every time that you sit with a woman that's given birth, and and you see what she's been able to accomplish. That's a triumph. I don't think they're on a personal level. They're just there for everybody that you help out. As far as obstacles, I guess there's many, and it depends on whether they're personal obstacles or whether they're, there's a lot of facets to midwifery.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been difficult for my personal family life.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, you miss out on an awful lot of your family life, because you can't choose. When somebody calls you and says they're in labor, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're going. So some of my kids, one of my daughters was asked one time, well, what did you think about your mom? Wasn't it great that she was a midwife? And she said, because she was my midwife, I really appreciated that. But as my mother, I did not appreciate it because she wasn't there during some very important times in my life. So I think that's the obstacles,
Mm-hmm. How do you see yourself in regards to your influence on these women?
I don't know that they probably influence me more than I influence them. I don't know. I hope I'm just supportive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I feel
I should ask you.
I feel like you empower women. A lot of times they're told they can't do something and you tell them that they can. How do you feel when they they come to you usually sometimes deflated or feeling like they can't do something?
But they can.
Right.
You just know they can, I mean, we're never there to force anybody to do something that they're convinced they can't do. All you can do is support somebody's choices. But a woman can do it, and all you can do is walk her through and hold her hand and, kiss her on the cheek and tell her she's doing great. She can do it. Mm-hmm. Most of them do, and most of them are tickled pink once they get that baby in their arms and they've done it. It's really nice to see women be that proud of themselves. So my sister said it once when we helped her with her first birth. She looked up at me and she said, I can ski now. So I think it gives you the ability to know that you can do just about anything. So it's good.
Will you share a little bit of your philosophy with birth?
I don't have a philosophy, okay? Somebody, I think everybody asks you that question. Everybody says, what's your philosophy on birth? I think the only way that I can put that is that it changes with every woman I serve. Mm-hmm. Because I basically am there to serve them, to do what they want. And so your philosophy on birth is going to be totally different than the next person that walks through my door. So I have to be willing enough to let them lead the way, and I support them in that. I don't know what else to... I don't have a philosophy. I just know we can do it.
I like that. Have there been some poignant moments or experiences that have really stood out to you as a midwife?
Well, I'd be a liar if I said no. But, you know, in over the almost 50 years, there's been so many, maybe too many to recall. Some truly amazing things, and then others that you never want to repeat. So, yeah, sure.
Do you want to share any of them?
Oh, you'd have to throw out a what? A little tidbit. What
Tidbit? Maybe in your early years, what was one of the first experiences where you knew this is for me?
Where I said this is for me?
Yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be helping women. Did you ever have a moment like that?
Never. No, never. I'm where I'm at because you guys keep calling me.
Yeah?
No, I never had. I mean, there were times in my life, I've had 2 marriages.
Yeah.
And the very first time, my first husband did at one point say, it's that or me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an easy choice to make at that point. So I won't go into a lot of details, but it was almost kind of an escape, you know, to be able to say, not giving this up ever. So, yeah.
So that's interesting that what keeps you doing it if you've never had that big moment or maybe lots of little moments?
Because you keep calling me. No,
Not me
'cause
alone.
It's
I have
all
had
I
plenty.
know. It's my whole life. I don't know what I'd be doing if I wasn't doing this. I mean, really, I don't have a choice. I want to do this. I've always said if I ever lost the love for it, I'd have to give it up because I wouldn't be good. You know, if you don't like what you're doing, you're not good at it. And so I'm just grateful that I love it.
Yeah. How have you seen birth practices evolve through the years that you've practiced?
Oh, good grief.
What kind of changes have you seen, and have they been good or bad, or what kind of things?
Some of them are good, I guess, but what I see is we're getting more and more medical. Used to be, I mean, even all the old midwives that are about my age that, you know, I still talk to, we're on Facebook groups and stuff, and that's the first thing that they complain about is how it has evolved into more of a medical practice than what it used to be, you know. I mean, when we first started out, we didn't have blood pressure cuffs. We didn't have, you know, basically the only tools that we had were our hands and our heads, you know. We followed people along just on intuition, most of it. And births went that way too. We didn't have a lot of equipment at births, you know. So it's evolved greatly. When I first came to Utah, I know that some of the midwives that were practicing here called me a medical midwife because I had a Doppler at that point. You know, so. But now, I don't know any midwives that would go to a birth without a Doppler or without oxygen or without, you know, a lot of the tools that we have. We never used medication. We never used interventions. It wasn't for a long time before we had ultrasounds as a standard care practice. You know, we didn't do that. But now you do it with every birth, with every pregnancy.
What about during delivery? I would think water birth, is that becoming more popular?
New.
Yeah.
Well, that's new. The first time that I ever heard of a water birth was a woman in Logan, and it was her first pregnancy, and she was 40 years old, and she said, I want a water birth. And I said, you want what? What does that mean? She said, well, I want to give birth in water. And I thought, okay, no. But that's the way I get taught to do things, you know. People say to me, this is what I want, and this is what I want you to help me with. And so I was uncomfortable with the first water birth, and now it's just routine, right? Used to be that we followed, prior to water births, it was Dr. LeBoyer. I don't know if you've heard of him at all, okay? So what we would do, because Dr. LeBoyer said the baby was the one that needed to have that kind of comfort, so you cut the cord right away, and then we had a tub that we floated the baby in water.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did, but the baby was taken away from the mother and put in this tub. So we followed that for a long time. It's a lot nicer to have the water birth now where the mother is the one that floats the baby in the water.
Right. How many do you think, out of your moms, what percentage do you think deliver in the water now?
Quite a few. It went from a few wanting it to a lot of mothers, or almost every mother wanting the water birth, and now it's kind of becoming more of a choice. Some do and some don't, and you know, it's nice that we have choices.
Yeah, I agree with that. As you reflect on your life of service as a midwife, what have been your biggest blessings?
That I'm still here doing it.
Yeah, that's a blessing to all the moms you serve.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I think I'm grateful for the fact that I can still do it. You know, that I'm in good health. I'm happy for that. That I can still function. A lot of people my age don't.
You said there's been some difficult times. I'm wondering how you carry through those difficult times. Maybe you haven't slept for days, or maybe there's been something traumatic that's happened. But you have to keep going on and keep serving the women and the families. So how do you cope or process? I remember one time asking you, how do you process this? And you said, I don't have time to process. I just have to keep going.
And that's true. It's true. When you've committed yourself to somebody, you know, I can't, I've been through 2 divorces, a lot of family strife. I lost a grandson, and I think I had a mom that called me the night that he died, you know, just hours after he died, and I had another midwife to go to that birth, because that was one thing I couldn't. But even through all my personal struggles, like with my divorces and stuff, when a mom calls you, that gets set aside. It has to be. You don't take it with you. You know, you can't take it with you. Or you have a traumatic birth, and you can't take that to the next one. You know, the mother that's giving birth at the time doesn't deserve anything that you've been through. So.
That's amazing. I don't
Right.
know. I don't know. Maybe I don't have those skills. I'm impressed, though, how you can let her have the 100% of you and set aside the things that...
Well, you have to do that. You know, they don't deserve any less than that.